So what is a Netsuke? The name literally means in Japanese root attach, and it's a little toggle that Japanese men in particular used to attach small personal items to the belts around their kimono. Now, kimono, the traditional kimono, had no pockets. So if a man had something like tobacco pipe and tobacco pouch, how would he keep it about his person? So the Netsuke is a little toggle, almost like a button, which was used to stop the tobacco pipe slipping down through the sash around his waist. So the Netsuke was attached to a cord, which was attached to the tobacco pouch, tobacco pipe, or whatever he wanted to hang from his belt. The first Netsuke were probably very, very simple, rough, found objects like a little piece of wood or a shell, something like that. But bit by bit, craftsmen started to carve beautiful miniature sculptures which men wore as accessories to their dress. There were quite strict rules during the Edo period, so that runs from about 1600 to 1868. And the shogun, that's the military dictator, was very strict about what people could wear depending on their class. Wealthy townspeople were often being told off for wearing clothes that were too flamboyant and showy. So there were rules about what they could wear. But one way to secretly show your good taste and wealth was to have a very fancy, beautiful Netsuke that you could hide underneath your outer kimono. And that's what we have in the show here. About 75 different Netsuke, which are between 200 years old to about 50 years old. Miniature sculptures, which show all sorts of things about Japanese culture and Japanese life.
Hello, my name's Amy Raphael and I've been working with the Netsuke collection at Bristol Museum. I'd like to show you some pieces today. The first item I'd like to show you is this ivory carving of a man catching some hens and her chicks with a bamboo cage. But what's lovely about this piece is that it shows how the Netsuke would have traditionally been worn, hanging from the man's sash, hanging connected to his tobacco pipe and his tobacco pouch. The next item I'd like to show you is an inro, and this would have been used to store tobacco leaf, medicines, sometimes even coins, and other small personal items. But usually they have compartments like this that slot open to reveal different compartments. And this one's rather lovely. It's a lacquer with wood, and the inside has been sprinkled with gold powder. So it's rather special, yes. So Netsuke would have been made from a number of different materials. The most common materials were ivory and wood. Here we have two ivory items. We have a Buddhist lion, and we have a little rat turning back over his shoulder, and he's got little metal eyes. And this is a boxwood Netsuke carved in the form of some mushrooms. And some more unusual Netsuke were made from other materials, such as metal, like this one here, which is in the shape of a helmet, a samurai helmet. And what's rather lovely is this one too opens up like the inro and could have been used to store other items, perhaps some tinder to light the tobacco itself, or perhaps a bit of tobacco leaf.
So this little scene here shows a story, and Netsuke have lots and lots of stories in them. And here you can see on the right is a figure with a fox's head. And there are loads of tales in Japanese popular culture of cunning foxes, and often foxes that can change their shape from one thing to another. In particular, foxes who change into women and women who change into foxes. So this man here is walking along at night. He's got a lantern, and little does he realise that his companion is in the process of turning into a fox. So is that his wife who's turning into a fox, or is it just someone he's walking along the road with? So look out in the Netsuke for all the different stories and fun things you can learn about Japanese culture. So around the late 1860s, the Meiji Emperor came to power, and he decided that he wanted his country to modernise and to westernise. So he made regulations that men should, where possible, wear Western clothes, and that meant that there wasn't so much demand for traditional Netsuke. But of course, the Netsuke carvers still had all their skills, and it coincided at a time when Western tourists were starting to visit Japan, and they were absolutely amazed by the life they saw there. So Netsuke carvers started to make little carvings as souvenirs, and this is one of those. It's quite delicate. It would be too delicate to wear as a Netsuke, in particular because this little sake drinker, so he's drinking rice wine, sake, he's got a wobbly head, and that wouldn't work on a Netsuke worn every day. So you can see he's raising a bottle of sake. He's got a sake cup just down here, and he's having a good old drink. But again, even though it's not a true Netsuke, this is a beautiful miniature carving, carved all the way around, and you can see even the underside of the bowl with the patterns on it, the underside of the cup, and his amazing wobbly head, which somehow the carver has managed to keep attached to the rest of his body. So something like this would make a fantastic souvenir for a Western tourist to bring home from Japan, showing a little bit of Japanese daily life.
So this wooden Netsuke here at first seems to be a carving of a man polishing the floor, but actually when you hold it up, it reveals that he is in fact polishing his mind. Here is the Japanese character, kokoro, which means spirit, heart, mind. So it's a bit of a pun here that he's in fact polishing his mind.
Now this looks like a nut, but if we open it up very carefully, it's what's called a trick Netsuke, and you can see that it has a little old couple carved inside, and that couple, they are known as Jo and Uba. Jo is the man, Uba is the woman, and they were a couple who were famous for being married for years and years and very faithful to each other. So they're often shown together as a symbol of fidelity. And the woman there, Uba, is sweeping up pine needles, and the pine tree is another symbol of long life because it doesn't lose its green. But you can see the skill of the carver who has managed to hide a miniature sculpture inside this Netsuke.
This piece here shows a little monkey clinging onto a vine on a gourd, which opens up to reveal this intricate chain from which 3 more tiny monkeys cling. And believe it or not, this piece is carved from one single piece of ivory, showing off the carver's skill and how intricate and delicate they could carve